Good afternoon, Manib. I hope you're well. I'm just going to show you my code which I created for while I was working at 11 Luxury Estates just to make my life easier. This was just what I used for myself because when we were working there, we used a website called Mighty where everybody posted the properties which they were going to look at. So there was just a website with like 40 people working at the company, and they just posted hundreds and hundreds of properties every day, and we weren't allowed to basically go to someone else's leads, so we would have to search there and see if anyone has that, has anyone been to that property. So they post like the right move links. So what I created was a script just to make my life a lot easier, and I used Selenium to access a website because the website was protected by Cloudflare. I could have used like agents and stuff to access it, but I just wanted to create something real quick just so I could just make just something simple just to make my life easier. So I accessed it with Selenium, got the HTML data. Then when I got the HTML data, I used Beautiful Soup just to scrape it and find all the information I wanted, just finding using the regex to find the right move link and the property data, and then I put that into a database, so like the profile ID, so which person went to it, then the right move link and the date which they went to it, because we couldn't go to anyone's property if they went to it in the last 2 weeks or 4 weeks, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I put all of that into a database, and then from there I use the Rightmove's API, the backdoor API, to get all the properties on Rightmove in like a certain area, so like let's say 10 miles, and then these are all the viable properties which I think are worth going to, and then I compared them to the ones which people have already went to, so that I removed them from the list. So I had a fresh list which no one else had been to, and I made sure that it was meeting my criteria, making sure it wasn't like a commercial property and it was a residential property, and it was a if it was chain or not, so I know if somebody's going to be in the house. If it was no chain property, then it's most likely going to be a vacant property, so there's no point in me actually going there and trying to speak to someone. So it's just kind of like those criteria. This is just mainly like data mining. It's not so much analytics at this point. When I used my property estimator, I used analytics with it. It's kind of basic analytics. I was just using like standard deviation, but I'll show you that in a moment. But with this code, I just scraped all the information from Rightmove, compared it to the data which I got with Selenium and Beautiful Soup, and then I compared it with the dates and then the IDs and stuff, making sure that these IDs these IDs are basically just making sure that they're not, it's basically a date checker. What I was using here with the IDs, it's the IDs which were given on Mighty. But I didn't really comment it because it was just kind of for my personal use. So I'm trying to remember what I wrote from 2 years ago. It was a little bit difficult, but yeah. Since I was going to go, the routes which I created, there were routes which I was going to in the space of like 1 day, 2 days. I just decided to use a recursive route, a recursive route estimator, not anything too complicated, because I wasn't going with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of data points, so I could just do something simple like this with like 30, and it wouldn't take me too much time to plot those. But if I was doing like 1,000, the big O would be absolutely massive, but the big O for this wasn't even that much of a problem. So it's just that, just two recursive loops just to find them and compare them, and then I looked at the longitude and latitude, and then I just plotted it on my screen so I had an idea of which which house was which, used in Matplot. And then from there, my next stage of this project, which I worked on for myself, was my house price estimator, again connecting to the Rightmove API, and then put in a CSV file of all the properties in the area which I was interested in, and then going through here using like geocoder just to get an estimate of like the distance from, so let's say, okay, this is where I live, and then I look at like a mile radius, well, kilometer radius, 1.5 kilometer radius from here, just so that I can get an idea of the local area, the average price of everything in there, and then I just put it into a CSV file. So I was using a price per square foot, and then just looking at all the houses which met my criteria. So what I did initially, I scraped all the postcodes in the UK and put them in this database with the longitude and latitude, because it's a lot easier to use a longitude and latitude to figure out the distance, because I was just converting the longitude and latitude to a kilometer, or a meter value. So all 1.7 million, well, 1,736,000 postcodes in there, and then I also got all the information of land registry with the prices which the property sold for, when they sold, and the postcode, and then the property type. So we got detached, semi, and terrace. I didn't use flats because I wasn't going to buy a flat. I was just looking at houses, freehold houses only. So we got the tag here if it was freehold or leasehold. Then we got the first line of the address, second line of the address, and then I was using that and comparing that to the data with the EPCs. So I gathered the last 10 years worth of EPCs and I put them into the database, and then compared the sold prices to here. So we have the address here with the postcode. So we've got the numbers, and then we've got the street name, then we've got the postcode, and then we've got the EPC value. The EPC value is beneficial when you're looking at a long-term hold. Okay, if it's got a low EPC, we can increase the EPC, changing windows, that sort of thing, improving the value of the property. But that's not something which I use for this, because I just wanted to get a rough distribution of the average price in the area. What is that property on for at the moment? How much more than the mean is it? How many more standard deviations? So we just again looked at terrace, semi, and detached houses. So here, is it a house? H, house. B, bungalow, detached. And then here with terrace, it's like middle terrace, end terrace, and then it's a house. And then the area. The main thing which I was looking at here was the area, so we could calculate the price per square foot. So if this house sold for that much, we'd get the price for it, and this was the EPC, this was the area, and then we can just calculate the price per square foot, and then we could get the distribution of it. So looking at the standard distribution and the mean comparison for that is what I was doing with my code there. So yeah, that's just I would say this is quite a simple project compared to my crypto arbitrage bot, which has a lot more it's a lot more depth to it. But this is just a simple evolution from creating something to make my life easier to creating something which would help me find developments and profitable ventures in real life, and that's what I created here.